Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I wish I had more time to learn something new," only to realize that now, after 60, you finally do? It's funny, isn't it? We spend decades juggling work, raising families, and navigating life's to-do list, and then one day the pace slows down. Suddenly, you've got mornings with no meetings and evenings free of soccer practices and packed schedules. For many of us, that's the moment the idea of learning again, just for the joy of it, starts to take root. I'll be honest with you. When I retired, I thought I'd mostly spend my time gardening, traveling a bit, and maybe reading those books that had collected dust over the years. But something unexpected happened. I started getting curious again, curious in a way I hadn't been since my 20s. I'd see a documentary and want to know more. I'd hear about a new technology and wonder how it worked. And that curiosity led me down a path I didn't see coming, taking actual courses again. Now, if you're thinking, wait, at 60 or 70, can I really go back to learning? I get it. I had those thoughts too. But here's the good news. Research says absolutely yes. In fact, the brain loves to keep learning. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. According to studies published in journals like Frontiers in Psychology, adults well into their 70s and 80s can improve cognitive functions simply by engaging in new learning tasks. That's not just uplifting, it's powerful. So in this video series, I want to take you with me on a journey through the courses I took after turning 60, what I learned, what surprised me, and most importantly, how it changed the way I feel about aging. From learning how to code, to diving into art history, and even brushing up on Spanish, each course added something fresh and meaningful to my life. Whether you're already enrolled in something or just starting to toy with the idea, I hope this inspires you to explore what's possible. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment "Why" below. If not, comment "N." It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. So where did I begin? Funny enough, with digital photography. I've always loved taking photos, but I never really understood the technical side, aperture, ISO, composition. I figured it'd be a gentle way to ease into this new student mindset without pressure. I signed up for an online course from a platform called Skillshare. The first week, I watched videos casually while sipping my morning coffee. But soon, I was out in my backyard experimenting with angles, lighting, even editing software. And here's the magic. Not only did I gain a new skill, but my world felt brighter. I noticed details I used to overlook. How light filtered through the trees, the textures of old brick walls, the way people smiled when they saw me crouched in the grass, camera in hand. Learning to see differently changed how I experienced my day. Around the same time, I stumbled upon a TED Talk by Dr. Lisa Genova, a neuroscientist and author of Still Alice, who talked about building a cognitive reserve to protect the brain from decline. She explained that learning new, challenging skills, like a language or a musical instrument, can actually help delay symptoms of dementia. That gave me a push to take on something a bit more challenging. So I took a leap. I enrolled in an introductory Spanish class. Not Duolingo on my phone, but a real beginner course through a local community college, held on Zoom. I hadn't studied Spanish since high school, but I remembered how much I enjoyed it then. And let me tell you, getting back into it at this age was both humbling and hilarious. I stumbled over pronunciations, forgot vocabulary words mid-sentence, and often had to repeat lessons. But the joy of piecing together a sentence or recognizing a word while watching a Spanish movie, that was priceless. One of my classmates was 74, a retired postal worker who wanted to visit his granddaughter in Madrid and speak to her in her native tongue. He inspired me every single class. We joked that our brains were sweating, and sometimes they were, but we kept at it. And over time, it started to click. I now keep a small Spanish journal where I write 1 or 2 sentences a day. It's not perfect, but it's progress. And that's what I've learned. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. Learning in your 60s, 70s, or beyond isn't about passing tests or getting grades. It's about opening your world again. It's about feeling alive and engaged. And yes, sometimes it's about laughing at yourself as you try to roll your R's or understand photo metadata. What surprised me most, though, was how this journey began to affect other parts of my life. My sleep improved because I had a healthy dose of mental stimulation during the day. My conversations with friends got more vibrant. We started talking about ideas, art, languages, even the best way to organize cloud photo storage. And my confidence grew. It turns out that trying new things, even when they scare you a bit, reminds you that you're still growing, still capable, still vibrant. In the next part, I'll share a few of the more unconventional courses I tried, like coding and even mindfulness-based stress reduction, and how they challenged not just my intellect but my mindset. One of them, believe it or not, helped me become more patient with myself in a way I never expected. Stick around, because this next part just might surprise you. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. Now back to our journey. After I dipped my toes into photography and Spanish, I felt a new sense of energy, like I'd reconnected with a part of myself I hadn't seen in years. But I wanted to keep pushing those boundaries, to try something that scared me just a little. That's when I signed up for a beginner coding course. Yes, coding, as in learning how to write lines of computer language. I was intimidated at first. Computers weren't even a thing when I was in school. But I kept hearing about retirees learning to build websites or even simple apps, so I thought, why not me? I found a free introductory course online called CS50, offered by Harvard, and let me tell you, it was no joke. But here's the thing. The first few lessons were like learning to read all over again. It was frustrating, yes, but also completely absorbing. My brain felt like it was lifting weights. And that's not just a metaphor. Studies show that learning skills involving logic and sequential thinking, like coding, actually improve executive function and working memory, especially in older adults. One day, I spent nearly an hour debugging a simple calculator program, and when it finally worked, I felt like a genius. Not because it was perfect, but because I stuck with it. That course taught me more than how to code. It taught me resilience. It reminded me that frustration is just part of the learning curve, not a sign that you're too old or not good enough. A friend of mine, Margaret, she's 68 and used to be a nurse, started learning basic JavaScript around the same time. She said it made her feel like she was using parts of her brain she hadn't touched in decades. She even started mentoring her grandson with his school projects. It became this beautiful two-way learning exchange between generations. But not every course I took was about logic or language. Some were about something much more subtle, the mind. After the whirlwind of learning new technologies and languages, I realized I needed something to help me slow down. So I signed up for an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, course. It was originally developed by John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, and has been proven to reduce anxiety, improve focus, and even lower blood pressure. Now, meditation used to sound a little out there to me. Sit still and breathe? That's it. But let me tell you, it's a lot harder than it sounds. The course didn't just teach breathing techniques. It taught me how to be present, to notice thoughts without getting tangled in them. And that skill, that simple awareness, made a massive difference, not just in how I felt, but how I reacted to the world around me. I remember one day I was struggling with a tough memory, something from years ago, and instead of spiraling into it, I paused, took a few breaths, and let it pass. That's something I wish I'd learned decades ago. But you know what? Learning it now still changed my life. What's remarkable is how this kind of learning benefits our biology, not just our emotions. A study from UCLA found that people who practiced mindfulness for just 8 weeks showed measurable changes in brain regions associated with attention, emotion regulation, and even empathy. That means it's never too late to rewire how we think and feel. And here's something that surprised me. As I learned to slow down and become more mindful, I also became more open to feedback. I stopped being afraid of being bad at something new. That's huge, because fear of failure is one of the biggest barriers to adult learning. We think we have to be perfect right away, but learning is messy. And that's okay. At this point, my days had a rhythm I never expected in retirement. A bit of coding in the morning, a mindfulness practice mid-afternoon, Spanish journal entries in the evening. It was like I'd curated a curriculum for my own brain and soul, and the benefits were spilling into every area of my life. Even socially, things began to shift. I joined an online learners group, just a few older adults like me exploring courses on everything from astronomy to creative writing. We meet weekly on Zoom, and let me tell you, I've laughed harder and learned more in that group than in any committee I ever sat on. There's something magical about being in a room, even a virtual one, with people who are still curious. One of the women in our group, Denise, started writing poetry after taking a creative writing course through Coursera. She'd never written a poem in her life before turning 70. Now, she's self-published 2 chapbooks, and the smile on her face when she read one of her poems aloud to us for the first time, it still gives me goosebumps. And that's the heart of all this, really, joy. Lifelong learning isn't just about information. It's about joy, connection, discovery. It's about waking up in the morning excited to try something, knowing that your age is not a limitation, it's a launch pad. You've got wisdom, patience, and life experience on your side now. Why not use that to explore new mental landscapes? Now, I know what you might be thinking. That all sounds great, but what about when it gets hard? Because yes, there were moments of doubt. There were times I wondered if I was just fooling myself, or if I'd bitten off more than I could chew. In the next part, I'll talk about that, the challenges that came up, the internal critics we all deal with, and how I learned to silence them. I'll also share one course that nearly made me quit entirely, and the surprising thing that kept me going. So if you've ever felt like giving up, or questioned whether you're too old to start something new, don't miss what's coming next. By now, you've probably guessed this hasn't all been smooth sailing. There were definitely moments when I stared at my screen or notebook and thought, what am I doing? One of the toughest courses I took was on creative writing. You'd think it would have been the easiest, right? After all, we all have stories. But putting them on paper? That's where the real vulnerability kicked in. I signed up for a Writing Your Life Story course through a local senior center's online learning program. The idea was to reflect on our past, write about defining moments, and maybe even pass those stories down to our families. Sounds lovely, right? Except I didn't realize how emotional it would be to revisit some of those chapters. One week, we were asked to write about a personal failure. I stared at a blank page for hours. The critic in my head was loud. This is silly. No one cares. You're too old for this. But something in me whispered, just try. So I wrote. Slowly. Awkwardly. But honestly. And then something happened. The next class, I read my piece out loud. My hands were shaking a little. But when I finished, one woman in the group wiped her eyes and said, "That's my story too." We'd never met in person, but in that moment, we weren't strangers. We were connected through shared human experience. That's the power of learning something that opens your heart. Now here's the thing, resistance is normal. Especially as we get older, we've had decades to develop comfort zones. But stepping outside them, even a little, is where growth happens. There's a beautiful study from the Journal of Aging and Health that shows how older adults who take on challenging new activities, not just passive ones like watching TV or reading, but actual skill building, report greater life satisfaction and self-esteem. I saw that firsthand. The more I leaned into learning, even when it felt messy or vulnerable, the more I began to feel alive. And that included learning how to handle failure without letting it define me. I'll never forget the week I bombed an online quiz in a short course on art history. I'd been feeling pretty confident. Who doesn't love Van Gogh and Monet? But this quiz was on Renaissance architecture, and I mixed up my domes and arches. I scored embarrassingly low, and I felt it, that old school shame feeling. But then I remembered something my mindfulness teacher said. Treat yourself the way you'd treat a close friend who's learning something new. Would I laugh at a friend for getting a few quiz questions wrong? Of course not. I'd cheer them on. So I gave myself that same grace. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned through all these courses. Learning after 60 requires a new kind of self-compassion. We're not here to compete. We're here to grow, to explore, to discover. I started keeping a learning wins journal, a little notebook where I jot down small victories, like had a full conversation in Spanish with the barista, or finally understand the rule of thirds in photography. It's not about bragging. It's about remembering. Because it's easy to focus on what we haven't mastered yet and forget how far we've come. Let me also say this, community matters. Whether it's an in-person class or a Zoom call or an online forum, learning with others keeps you going. When I was thinking about dropping out of that creative writing course, it was my classmates who pulled me back in. They didn't even know they were doing it. Just by showing up, sharing, and supporting each other, they created a space where I felt safe to keep trying. And this isn't just a feel-good idea, it's backed by science. Research in the Gerontologist Journal found that older adults who engage in group learning activities show improved cognitive function and greater emotional well-being. So don't underestimate the power of showing up for a group, even if it's just once a week. Now, I want to take a second and reshare a quick favor. If you're enjoying this journey so far, let me know with a Y in the comments, or an N, if something's not quite resonating. Your feedback helps shape what we do next. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. It helps us keep this kind of content going for everyone. Okay, back to the story. One of the most fulfilling courses I took recently was on positive psychology. Basically, the science of what makes life worth living. It was offered through Yale on Coursera and taught by Dr. Laurie Santos. I learned about things like gratitude journaling, savoring small moments, and practicing acts of kindness, and how these simple habits can literally rewire our brains to feel more fulfilled. One exercise we did was to write a gratitude letter to someone who made a big difference in our lives, and read it out loud to them. I wrote mine to a high school teacher who encouraged me to believe in my creativity. I hadn't spoken to her in over 40 years. I found her on Facebook, asked if I could give her a call, and read the letter. She cried. So did I. That one moment did more for my sense of connection than any number of likes or shares on social media ever could. And here's the takeaway. The best kind of learning isn't just for the mind, it's for the heart. The most powerful courses I've taken after 60 weren't necessarily the ones that gave me new skills. They were the ones that helped me see myself and others through a kinder, more curious lens. So if you're out there wondering if you've missed your window, let me assure you, the window is wide open. Whether it's something creative, technical, reflective, or totally out of left field, you can begin now. You're not late. You're right on time. In the final part coming up, I'll wrap it all together with some practical takeaways, a few surprising scientific facts that still blow my mind, and a simple roadmap you can follow if you're ready to start or restart your own lifelong learning journey. So here we are, at the end of this little journey we've taken together. And if you've stuck with me from the start, I just want to say thank you. That tells me something about you. You're curious, open, and maybe, just maybe, ready to take your own leap into learning, no matter where you are in life. Let's take a moment to look back at what we've covered. I shared the courses I've taken since turning 60. Spanish to stretch my brain, photography to open my eyes, coding to challenge my logic, mindfulness to calm the storms, creative writing to open my heart, and even positive psychology to tune into joy. And I didn't take these all at once. They unfolded slowly, like chapters of a new book I hadn't even realized I was writing. But here's the secret I hope you'll remember. None of this is about the course itself. It's about what each learning experience unlocked within me. Confidence, resilience, connection, curiosity. All those traits we think fade with age, they don't disappear. They just need to be reawakened. Let's talk about what really matters now, the action steps. Because I know it's easy to get inspired by a story, and then life happens. We move on. So here's how to make sure that you don't just watch this video and forget it, but instead, use it. Step 1. Start small. You don't have to sign up for a full university course tomorrow. Download a language learning app. Watch a TED Talk that interests you. Sign up for a free trial class on a platform like Coursera, Skillshare, or Udemy. Just one thing. One step. Step 2, schedule it. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Put it on your calendar like a coffee date with yourself. Because when you treat it like a priority, you're sending your brain the message, I'm still worth investing in. Step 3, find community. Whether it's a local club, a Facebook group, or a course with built-in discussion forums, learning with others makes the journey richer and more sustainable. Plus, it's fun. You'll laugh, be surprised, and maybe even make a few new friends along the way. And finally, be patient with yourself. You might feel slow at first. You might struggle. But struggle isn't failure. It's the sound of your brain doing push-ups. According to neuroscientist Dr. Michael Merzenich, widely regarded as the father of neuroplasticity, your brain remains plastic throughout your life, meaning it can rewire and adapt at any age. Isn't that amazing? Your brain can literally grow new connections from the work you do today. So when you feel stuck or discouraged, remind yourself, I'm building brain muscle. And let me leave you with one of my favorite quotes. It's from C.S. Lewis, and it goes like this: "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." That's what lifelong learning is. It's dreaming new dreams, not despite your age, but because of it. It's deciding that this next chapter gets to be just as full of growth and discovery as the ones that came before. You've already made it through so much in life. Careers, raising kids, navigating heartbreaks, health scares, wins and losses. You've developed wisdom most 25-year-olds haven't even touched yet. Now's the time to combine that wisdom with wonder. So here's my invitation to you. Take one small step today. Not tomorrow. Not once things calm down. Today. Open a course catalog. Download an app. Ask a friend what they've always wanted to learn, and see if you can do it together. Learning is not a solo sport, and your journey doesn't have to be either. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age. Because the classroom of life, it never closes,